Hey guys, it's time for our learning activity. I'm over here, but I'm gonna put our camera right out here on this bucket and this pan. I have right here a bucket and there is water inside, okay? It's full of water. You can kind of see the water jiggling around in there. All right, so today we're gonna do an activity where we do an experiment to see if things will sink or float in this container of water. Sink means that it will go all the way to the bottom. Float means that whatever I put in will stay right on the top. Okay, so I've got a few things out here on my desk and we're going to take a look and see if they sink or float. All right, the first thing I have is a rock. Okay, it's pretty heavy. It's a medium-sized rock. Do you guys have a prediction? Do you think this rock is going to sink down to the bottom of the bucket or float up on the top of the water? What do you think? Make a prediction at your house and keep it in your brain. All right, you guys ready? I'm going to put it into the water and let's see what happens, if it will sink or float. Here we go. Do you see it down there? So this rock sunk to the bottom. This is a sinking rock. Okay, you ready to try the next thing? All right. Next, I have a blue foam block. It's not very heavy. It's a little bit squishy. It's made out of foam, which is like what bath toys are made out of. You might have some at your house. Do you think that this foam block is going to sink or float? Do you think it's going to stay up at the top of the water or sink all the way down? All right, make your prediction. Make your prediction and let's try it. Ready? It's floating. Do you see it right here at the top? Let me try to push it down and see what happens. I'm pushing it down. I'm going to let go. Whoop! It floats right back to the top. That's a floating object. All right, let's try something different. Let's see about this leaf. I pulled this leaf off of one of my trees. It's flat and skinny. And it's very light. It's very light, doesn't weigh a lot. Do you think this leaf is going to sink down to the bottom or float at the top of the water? What's your prediction or guess? Okay. All right, do you have your prediction ready? Okay, I'm going to drop it into the water and let's see if it sinks or floats. It didn't go to the bottom. It's kind of hard to see on the computer screen. Let me see if I can get it up here. But it's floating on the top of the water. So the leaf and the foam block float, but the rock is a sinking object. It's sunk to the bottom. All right, let's try the next thing. We're going to try this pencil. A pencil is made out of wood, except for the end is made out of metal and eraser. It doesn't weigh very much. It's long and skinny. Do you think that this pencil is going to sink or float? What's your prediction? Is it going to sink to the bottom or stay up at the top? All right, you ready for me to put it in? Do you have your prediction? Okay, here I go. Oh my goodness. Do you see it floating right there? The pencil is floating. The pencil is a floating object. Okay. I have a wooden square block. These are kind of like the ones that we have in our block area. It's a little bit heavy. It's square. It's solid. Do you think that this block is going to sink to the bottom or float up at the top? What's your prediction about this block? Keep that in your brain and I'm going to go ahead and put it in. Ready? Okay, is it going to sink or float? Here I go. Oh man, that block is floating. The block is a floating object. I thought for sure it was going to sink because it's heavy, but it floated. Do you know that anything made out of wood will float? Pretty cool, huh? All right, I have two more things. I have a plastic spoon and I have a metal spoon. All right, so we're going to try the metal spoon first. This spoon is made out of metal, and I got it out of my drawer at my house. It's heavy, it's solid. Do you think that this metal spoon is going to sink or float? What's your prediction? Sink or float? You have your guess in your head? Okay, let's see. I'm about to drop it in. Let's see what happens. Oh man, that one definitely sunk right to the bottom. So that metal spoon is a sinking object. All right, now I have a plastic spoon. It's a lot lighter. It doesn't weigh as much, but it's shaped the same. Do you think that this spoon is going to float at the top or sink down to the bottom like the other spoon? Let's try it and see. All right, here I go. I'm going to drop it in. Oh man, the plastic spoon is floating on the top and the metal spoon went to the bottom. How interesting. They're shaped the same, but they're made out of a different material, so this spoon floats. Very cool. All right, so let's see all of our floating objects. The plastic spoon was a floating object. The leaf was a floating object. The wooden block was a floating object. The pencil was a floating object. It's made out of wood. The foam block was a floating object. Now let's see what our sinking objects were. Only two of them. The metal spoon was a sinking object, and the rock was a sinking object. Very cool. We figured it out. We figured out what would sink and what would float. I wonder if you guys can go around the house and see if you can find some sinking and floating objects to try. Love you guys. See you again tomorrow for a learning activity.